Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Clearly You Must Know. My husband hates shopping for clothes, but his job requires a certain level of business attire. Being of a rather expanded figure of late, I suggested that we go to the mall to have him try a few pieces on so we could get an accurate size, then order his new clothing online. We chose JCP, since it's fairly quiet. Usually. Not this evening, evidently. I was flipping through suit jackets for my husband to try on. We were talking about different cuts, styles, and fabrics that he would feel comfortable in. Pretty normal married people shopping crap. He's in jeans and a sweatshirt. I'm in leggings, ratty t-shirt, and a jacket with my employer's logo prominently visible. I am in technical support for a multinational real estate concern. The logo and colors aren't in the same universe as JCP. This matters. I sent my husband to the fitting room with some trousers to try on and set about finding a few other things for him. Ma'am, excuse me. I wasn't particularly aware. I was on a mission. Someone grabbed me by the shoulder and spun me around. Ma'am. I very nearly threw a punch. I have been WFH for 25 years, I rarely shop in person, and I hate it when strangers touch me. I managed to not deck them. Barely. Lo, there stood Karen, glaring. Where is the Nike clothing? Excuse me? Nike. Where is it? Duck if I know. Where is your manager? Chicago? I don't work here. Excuse me? I don't. Ducking. Work. Here. Again, I am not dressed remotely like a retail employee. I am in full, pissed-off tech nerd attire. Karen is not having it, even looking at my flaming purple hair and big company logo. Get your manager. Why? I don't work here. You should know where it is. This crap is why we shop online. Karen needs a goddamned eye exam. The next story is titled Airbnb Karen. So, the house next door to me has been converted into luxury apartments, all of which are let via Airbnb. It's a large 3-story Georgian house. Access is via a key code on the door, which often causes problems for people who have not bothered to read their confirmation emails and assume that a human being will be there to greet them. On more than a few occasions, I've had to explain this to bewildered tourists. They are usually very polite. On one occasion I even gave a weary traveler, just off the plane from South Africa, a hotspot so he could retrieve the code from the app. Yesterday evening I was leaving my house and the second I got out the door I was verbally accosted by a Karen standing outside the house next door, with what I assume was her poor unfortunate husband. She was in her mid-50s, I'd say, and although she wasn't dressed like a typical Karen, she certainly had the demeanor. Finally, she exclaimed, before I'd even closed my door. Sorry, I said, obviously looking surprised. She sounded American, I'm assuming not Canadian, as everyone knows how polite they are. We've been waiting here for over an hour. A lie, as I'd only come home 30 minutes earlier. I've been ringing the doorbell and nobody's answering. Oh, I said, you trying to get into the Airbnb, trying to be polite. Well, obviously, I need you to let me in immediately. This is not good enough. I can't do that. You need to enter the code on the keypad, I replied. What code? I don't have time for that, just let me in. I don't have anything to do with the Airbnb, I just live next door to it. You need to enter the code on the keypad. What nonsense, you're just being lazy. Sylvia, her presumed husband, blurts out, acknowledging his existence for the first time, but is quickly shushed by his mistress. Losing my patience, I retorted, Look lady, I don't work for the Airbnb. There is nobody there to let you in. You need to get the code they sent you and enter it in the keypad. Bye, and then stared to walk away fast as I see my bus approaching. Get back here, young man. I pay your wages. I'll have you fired for this, was the last thing I heard. As I was regaling my friends with this tale in the pub, I wondered were they still standing there hours later, but when I got home they were nowhere to be seen. I guess I should expect a write-up from my non-existent manager in the morning. The next story is titled Oops, you don't work here, do you? So I went to Publix the other day. I hadn't gotten much sleep and was very groggy. I pretty much jumped right in my car and went to get groceries after waking up. Additionally, I ended up having a long, philosophical conversation with my brother in the parking lot of Publix, so by the time I actually get out of the car, not only am I tired, my mind is just elsewhere. I walk in the front door to the store and see a lady wearing a mask and wiping down one of the shopping cart handles. Now, for clarity, where I live, most people don't wear masks anymore unless they're working, because the numbers have just dwindled down to almost nothing. So, I assumed this lady was an employee, and as she finishes wiping down the handle, I walk up and put my hands on the side of the cart, about to turn around to push it inside. As soon as I laid my hands on it, she looks up at me, and I pause and look at her, and then it dawns on me, she's wearing Mickey Mouse ears. She chuckled and said, "I don't work here." I immediately apologized and tried to laugh it off but was very embarrassed. Later, I ran into her again in the store, and I explained that I was out of it and not thinking clearly, and I don't usually see non-employees wiping the handles because the employees had been doing it for a while now. She informed me that they had stopped doing that a while back now and told me not to worry about it because it would be a funny story in hindsight. The next story is titled "M Steals My Car." I've already posted once on this subreddit, but here is my second story. This happened yesterday and I'm still pissed. An important note: I'm in a wheelchair most of the time and have parking plates on our car. Cast. Me equals a dumb idiot, DD equals my fiancé, M equals entitled mother, EF equals entitled father. This past week my fiancé and I have been staying with her parents 4 hours away for her sister's wedding, along with more of her extended family. Until yesterday the trip had been lovely. Her family are surprisingly accepting of us and helpful when it comes to my disability. We arrived a few days earlier than other family members so DD can spend more time with her parents and siblings. Since we've arrived we've been joined by her grandparents, cool uncle and his kids, plus her brother, EF, his wife, M, and their kids. The wedding isn't until Saturday so my fiancé have been passing the time by exploring the area and checking out local cafes, and that was our plan for that day too. We woke up around midday and after doing our makeup and getting dressed we go to the driveway to find our car gone. Naturally we start panicking and frantically asking everyone home if they know what happened, including EF. We cancel our plans for the day and spend 2 hours figuring out what to do when we hear a car pull into the driveway. We rush outside only to see our car pulling in and M and her kids climbing out. DD stomps up to her and demands to know what the duck she was doing, me trailing along behind her. DD: "What the duck are you doing with our car?" M: I just borrowed it to go to the supermarket." Me: "Why didn't you take yours?" M: "Because it's busy at this time of day and I wanted to get a spot." We just stared at her dumbfounded before Ed rushed out of the house to join in. EF: "What's going on out here?" M: "They're angry at me for borrowing the car." EF: "Come on guys, it isn't a big deal. She had the kids with her." Me: "Then she can take her own car and park in a parent's spot." M: "But parking at the door was so much easier. You try shopping with 4 kids. I don't want them walking through a car park. Plus eldest child has hurt his leg and needed it." After trying to explain how we didn't consider it borrowing if she didn't ask, how it was illegal for her to use my permit, and finding out EF had lied to us about knowing where our car was, his wife finally snapped. She knelt down in front of me and grabbed the wheels of my chair, holding me in place. She got into my face and started screaming. M: "If you're so ducking sick you can't walk, why didn't they put you down? I'd be disappointed if I were your parents. WHO would want a retarded faggot for a daughter. You're lucky you're not my kid." I had enough at this point and started crying. I can't handle homophobia and I'm the first to admit I'm a crybaby. Here is when DD's parents rush out of the house to see what's happening and M turns on her own waterworks. She starts crying about how we're awful and selfish and we'll never understand how hard it is to raise children, because gays can't have kids apparently. DD's dad made her get her shopping out of the car and got our keys off her. Turns out EF snuck into our room when we were sleeping, took them, and then gave them to M. The rest of the day she was awful to the two of us, being homophobic and tipping a whole glass of milk on me. After talking with DD's parents about how uncomfortable we were staying with her when she's being like this, we made the decision to check into the local hotel for the rest of our stay. And here's the cherry on top. After packing our things and getting in the car we noticed that M had removed our heart-shaped Pride air freshener, taken down the photo of DD, me, plus a bunch of our friends, and ducked with our radio. She also peeled off the sticker of the Team Instinct logo we had on our dash, along with throwing the Pikachu plush we had on there into the back of the car. Today is Thursday and I'm really dreading having to see the two of them on Saturday. I hope they act like adults and not cause a scene at the wedding. The next story is titled "Ma'am, I'm American, like you." Alright, so, if you look at my profile you'll see we bought the boat of our dreams during this whole crazy experience the world has been going through. With restrictions and cases finally dropping to a level that isn't absolutely bonkers, we decided to go on our first long-distance journey, leaving from the east coast of America and heading for the west coast. We're planning to be gone for about 90 days. This morning we awoke in gorgeous San Marino, Mexico, and everything I remember from my youth about that San Isidro sun was just the beginning to this stunning place. I quickly hit the galley and made some Italian-inspired breakfast burritos, using this lovely habanero marinara sauce my partner found on our journeys, some chicken, pepperoni, eggs and onions. Using 3 burrito-sized tortillas I was able to fashion this monster together as I grab a fresh beer to start the day as we're docked here until tomorrow. Woo! I tell you about my delicious breakfast burrito because it is a main character in our story today. I stumble up to the main deck with my goodies and our pups in tow. They've got a good 30 feet by 20 feet patch of turf to do their business up here. Standing there in my Crocs, obnoxiously bright swim trunks and one of those oversized straw hats with the chin strap, I hear the song of my homeland. The American Karen going ballistic on what I think were dock workers. As I said, hangover I'm not too sure as my Spanish isn't the best. Hopping onto the dock I spot her in all of her glory, matching me in stature. As a 6 feet 3,260 pounds man with a beard past his nips, this sends my childish brain right into wallflower mode, as nothing is better with a sloppy burrito than people watching. Karen's screaming at the 2 men on the dock about a boat, not mine but one clearly privately owned and not some kind of rental. Karen's demanding they provide the ship to her for the day and is swinging around a fistful of bills. Our Mexican friends are doing their best to communicate to her that they have nothing to do with the boat. Again I'm assuming as she's screaming and stomping as she gestures toward it and they're awkwardly shrugging and attempting to avoid her. Then it happens. I've been spotted. I attempt to slink back under deck but alas, as I turn around to seal the cabin I see the final boss Karen making a beeline for me with what can only be described as the "I'm going to get the manager to do what I say" expression. Having 2 very large and protective dogs I bite the bullet and step back onto the deck. Karen. Sir, why don't your workers speak English? How are they supposed to do their job if they don't speak English? After a stunned pause I respond with, "Well ma'am, we're in Mexico, the primary language here is Spanish. Also they're not my workers as I don't work here, please get off of my boat." Going from 0 to 100 Karen launches into a tirade about how it's BS and they need to speak English and I need to get that random person's boat ready for her before her husband arrives with their kids. Add in plenty more racism. Finally cutting her off I yell, "Hey idiot, I do not work here, or even in this country. Kindly get the duck off my boa." As I'm saying the word boat Karen shoved me. No words, just a full-on shove. I did end up going overboard, but the sight I saw on the dock when I came back to dry land was glorious. You see, in my journey over the starboard bow of my boat, I did manage to throw the about 70% of burrito I still had in my hand that is stuffed full of habanero sauce at Karen, hitting her in the neck. Apparently it exploded everywhere and Karen was covered from her cheeks to her midsection, even seeping through the bikini top she was wearing. Surprisingly, after she was done screaming about the heat she simply sat down and started crying. I'm back below deck now with a fresh burrito and another beer. Wonder if I'm gonna go for another swim when her husband shows up. Our Mexican friends did manage to hightail it while Karen was all peppered up though, so all ended well. The next story is titled "I Don't Work For You." This happened in June 2020 when I was job hunting. My old company, let's call them Company A, laid me off due to the pandemic. They gave me a generous 2 months notice, so end of August was my last day. I applied for various companies. Even applied for a re-education program, which I took in the end. However, during the 2 months I also applied for Company B. Their job offer was amazing, at first. 40 hours per week, overtime account, 24 days of paid vacation a year, Germany, baby. I got called in for an interview. I tend to arrive early for work, interviews, appointments. That is for me to take a breath, drink a coffee and prepare for what is coming. The interview was at 8 a.m. I got there at around 7:30 a.m. I parked in the employee parking lot. I was told it would be fine. Little did I know it would cause an issue. That issue started when a guy in suit and tie stormed up to the parking lot looking furious. The following conversation ensued. Me equals me. Duh. Angry guy equals ag. Recruiter equals R. CEO equals CEO. Ag. Where the duck has you been? You were supposed to be here by 7. Me. I was told. Ag. Cutting me off. I told you to be here by 7. Me. Confused. The email stated 8 a.m. Ag. Are you stupid? We start at 7. First day and you are already late. Get out of here, you are fired. Me. Realizing what happens. Sorry, you must be Ms. Ag. I said get out. Me. Fed up. I don't work for Ag. Obviously since I fired you. Me. I never worked for you in the first place. Ag. Of course, it was supposed to be your first day. At this point I had enough of him. I was about to get back into my car when another guy and a woman came out of the office building to see what the fuzz was about. Turns out, he is the CEO, and she is the recruiter. CEO. What the hell is going on here? Ag. This lazy bum came in on his first day over 30 minutes late. CEO, looking at me, then at Ag then back at me. This is unacceptable. What's your name? Me. My name. R. Oh, you are early. Ag. Early? He is late, and fired. R. Ag. He is not. He is here for a job interview. You know the vacant position on your team, he is not even an employee. Ag. Why does he park here then? R. Because I told him to. His appointment is at 8 a.m. But we can start now. Me. With all due respect, I politely declined to work here. CEO and R. What? Me. Yeah. I am not interested in working for someone who speaks to his employees in this manner. Also, I don't want to work for someone who can't tell who is working for him. R. I can't blame you. I promise we will deal with this. Maybe we can reschedule for another day? Me. I'll keep in touch with you about that. A few days later I signed a contract at transport company for a re-education program to become a train operator. I called R as promised and told her that another interview wasn't necessary. I asked her to please remove me from the list of candidates. She did and told me I made a good choice as her father used to work for transport company. She also told me what happened to Ag. He got fired 2 days after he blew up at me. They did an internal investigation and found out about a lot of misconduct and abuse towards his employees. Karma wins. The next story is titled I Argue with a Karen Even Though I Don't Work There. I joined this sub specifically to share this story. I used to work at a fast food restaurant, but now I'm an intern for a real position in my field. I dress business casual every workday. Whenever I get hungry on my way home, I stop by my old restaurant since they still give me the employee discount. They always tell me to make my own food, which I'm fine with. As you can imagine, anyone who sees a well-dressed man working in a restaurant assumes he's the manager. I really wanted to have fun with a rude customer pretending to be the manager, but no such thing happened until one day, in walks the Karen of my dreams. Thanks to Reddit, everybody knows what Karens look like, and they've learned to disguise themselves. Great job guys. She walked in looking normal. Everything was fine until on her way out she asked for a bag of chips. Chips are normally free as sides, but she had ordered a salad, which was already a side. I told her this, and she proceeded to ignore me and ask an employee for chips. I knew exactly what would happen. My ex-coworker would have keeled over and given her the chips to avoid getting in a hairy situation. Since I had nothing to lose, I was free to do as I pleased. I told her to hand the chips over to me and repeated the policy. This lady starts gaslighting me into thinking they're free because she thinks it's outrageous to pay $1 for chips. In the end, she didn't get chips, and it's not like I could lose my job. It's been a few months now, and I haven't gotten so much as a text from the real manager, so I think I'm in the clear. All I really did was follow policy. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.